Hey, I'm a bit late in covering this game, but I'd like to talk about Wildwood Down, a surprisingly charming point and click adventure game by Crashable Studios, in which you play as Daniel, a high school senior who's going to celebrate his last year of high school with his sister Becca, Becca's boyfriend Josh, and their other friend Dakota. Daniel has Down syndrome and is based off of a real life person, a family friend of the developers, which is not something that you see often in video games. But that element was the main thing that initially piqued my interest when I first came across this game. The game is fully voice acted, and the performances were pretty good, very over the top and cartoony. It may not be up to everyone's taste, but it was entertaining for me. I also think Daniel did a great job on his lines, and I found his voice to be pretty cute and charming, and he also has a bit of a flair for the dramatics. The game takes place in the real life location of the boardwalk in Wildwood, New Jersey. Daniel and his buddies are all on a road trip to participate in the annual Summer Bash, a party in an underground facility located underneath the boardwalk. However, it soon revealed something sinister is going on as bodies begin piling up all around the boardwalk, and Daniel fears that his sister may be next. The game starts in the car, and we get to see a bit of the characters' personalities. Dakota is very laid back, a jokester, and he loves food. Josh is kind of a jerk, and he's also in a band that will be playing at the Summer Bash. And finally, Becca is the thoughtful, responsible one, always trying to keep everyone together. Daniel, or Dan as he's often called throughout the game, is shown to have a bit of a mischievous side, pulling pranks on people like Josh as well as other unsuspecting NPCs, which is a major element to progressing the story and solving its many puzzles. Visually, it has a very unique look, using large sprites against 3D backgrounds, but I must admit it took my eyes a bit of time to adjust. They make really good use of the 2D, and there are quite a few humorous animations sprinkled throughout the game, something I feel which is often lost in 3D games. It helps it to stand out from others in this genre, at least visually. The world of Wildwood Down isn't very large, but it makes good use of its space, offering a variety of settings to keep things fresh, mainly interior locations such as a lighthouse and a hall of mirrors, and underneath the boardwalk, as well as plenty of characters and objects to interact with to keep you entertained. Music wise, the tracks are decent and fitting enough for the scenes they're used in, but nothing really stood out to me personally, not to say that the soundtrack was bad. The only song of note I found myself enjoying was the song they used for the wrestling matches near the end of the game. It has a rough, edgy sort of tune to it, and though I wasn't a fan of the wrestling segments themselves, the music did go pretty hard and did add to the atmosphere of the fights. The game is your typical point and click, so it can be played entirely with the mouse, but a later update also added controller support, so you have that option now as well. There's a button you can press to highlight all the interactable objects in an area, very helpful in letting you know what your options are in a scene. And there's also a hint button in the options for when you're really lost and need direction on where to go or what to do next. Honestly, I had to resort to this a few times, and I must say the hints themselves can be vague and pretty confusing, sometimes offering up not much help as much as one might like. I'm not necessarily asking for my hand to be held, but a major problem in games like this has always been moon logic and making the solution to a puzzle very vague and obscure. I wouldn't say it's absolutely frustrating, but I did run into this problem several times in my playthrough where I was wandering around for a long time, clicking on everything and getting nowhere. Sometimes in retrospect, I would be like, oh wow, that was the solution. Oh, it was pretty obvious. But other times, I'm left baffled at how they thought anyone would be able to figure that out. Even the very first major puzzle in the game had me stumped. Like early in the game, when you enter a drinking contest and you have to sabotage your competition, so you need something that you can secretly add to their drinks, but it doesn't tell you what item you need or where you might find it. The worst part of the game for me definitely had to be the wrestling minigame I mentioned before. It doesn't work how you'd expect it to at all. The game's tutorial says to pay attention to the enemy's arms, and when they aim high, you should also aim high, and when they aim low, you should aim low. But I don't know if I was doing something wrong or what, because this just did not seem to work for me. I really had no idea what I was doing in these fights, and I kind of just chose whatever option and hoped for the best. The fight against the hag was the actual worst and took me like 4 hours to finally get past her. This is the last big set piece in the game before the finale, like a boss rush of sorts. But I feel like it really drags the ending of the game down because of the pacing. It slows everything down to a halt to get you to play this mini game that conflicts with the rest of the gameplay. The wrestling matches sort of just come out of nowhere. But at least the special moves Daniel and his opponents can do have pretty cool animations and are amazing to watch, even if you're forced to sit through them over and over again. Fortunately, there's been a patch released by the developers to help make the wrestling matches easier. Easier in what way, I'm not exactly sure, as I haven't gone back through the game myself to see what they've changed. But still, even with that big hiccup, I still found the game wildly entertaining. It's funny with its own brand of humor. The art style is colorful, original, and full of wacky characters and varied scenery. Most of all, the mystery has plenty of twists and turns that will keep you guessing until the very end and give your brain a workout. The characters are charming, unpredictable, funny, and will have you missing them long after the game is over. I highly recommend Wildwood Down if you're looking for your next new point and click adventure game. With a very unique protagonist, plenty of thrills, humor up the wazoo, and an intriguing mystery to keep you hooked, along with a cast of endearing characters, Wildwood Down is a game worth your time. Have you played Wildwood Down? If so, let me hear your thoughts in the comments. And what do you think about having characters with disabilities in video games? Are there any other adventure games you'd recommend me or would like to see me cover on this channel? Drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.